Hello, Big Brother fans. Episode review of episode 25, Big Brother 14. What an exciting night. What an exciting night. It just went so fast. There's just so much to talk about. And I'm sure I'm going to skip more than half of the things that happened in tonight's show. Frank was up on the block for the sixth time. And there was something I missed while listening. You know, tonight's episode for some reason was fairly choppy. I don't know if it was that they had to pull some last minute editing because of swearing or what the deal is, but one part was recorded from days ago. So there was something that I missed where it was Dan's epic screw up where he made some kind of a he misspoke to Frank about getting Joe up on the block, or just in case Joe wins HOH something or other, and it made Frank kind of freak out just a tiny bit, have a little spaz attack, wondering what's going on, deja vu. But then on the flip side, once again, Joe also effed up too. That was kind of funny. I saw that one live on the feeds, and it was kind of funny where Joe didn't even attempt to try to cover up his flub. It was just, okay, owned it. He just kind of laughed it off and just turned over and went to bed. But if Dan had really been thinking, he should have really continued playing along and pretending that he was Shane and had listened to see exactly what Joe had to say. But in the long run, it really didn't even matter. The house guests were given the news that there was going to be a double elimination this evening, and in the house they kind of had an inkling. As I've told you before, they've been talking in the house about that there was a possibility there. In fact, even now they're even still thinking there are too many of us. There's going to be a half of a week, and as we found out later on in the episode, Julie said that yes, indeed, Wednesday there is going to be yet another eviction, and then on Thursday another eviction. And all of this has to do with the fact that because they brought in the coaches as team players, they kind of inundated the house guests, and there were just way too many in there for the amount of time slot that is given for Big Brother to be played out. So anyway, the guests were Frank and Joe were given the chance to give their speech to try to sway people to their side to keep them in the house. And Frank said he would appreciate it. He's down. He needs that hand up, and if you're going to extend that hand, you can expect to get paid back in kind if you can help. And Joe pretty much sounded like he was throwing the towel in. I mean, it was just kind of like, vote with your heart. And I'm like, yeah, that doesn't make me really want to vote for you. But since they'd already, had it in for Frank, and they're finally like, we can finally get him out. I guess it didn't really matter that, Frank had a packing it in kind of attitude. So, as it happens, the only person who voted to keep Frank in was Jen. And so Frank was blindsided and kind of bummed. He said he was bummed when he got out. I personally couldn't believe that they finally got him out. I mean, the man has had more lives than a cat. Seriously. I was thinking, there's no way they're ever going to get rid of this guy. So, it was evident that Julie, she must have been pulling for the underdog, because just the way she treated him, and some of the questions, and it kind of it was sweet. It was sweet that the way that she dealt with him. He said that he couldn't get over the Bible swear. I mean, yeah. That would be a hard one for me to get over too. When people generally, especially Dan, whose faith is, supposedly rock solid. Yeah. Then, with Frank, his goodbye messages weren't really that evil and mean. Dan, tried to get that last minute vote in there, dude, I'm voting you out only because I respect you as a player, and there's no other way I could have ever gotten you out, kind of deal. So that's his last minute ploy at trying to miss from afar. But Frank wasn't buying. The HOH was called Make Your Case, from which they took quotes from each person's final plea to save from them from being on the block. And I have to admit, I paid about as much attention to the final plea speeches as Shane and Joe do, because them fools, I think I got like 3. I think I answered 3, and I think them fools only had 1. So maybe I pay a little bit more attention than they do, but not much more. What's that saying for me, right? So anyway, Dan won the HOH, and he's, kind of like running around and, trying to figure out what to do. And it was interesting because he nominated Joe, who immediately sat in the seat. It was kind of like, yeah, I think he sat there by mistake, but then he kind of played it off like, oh, well, I've been here enough times, might as well, But Ian being pulled up was, I think, kind of a shocker for everybody. As I said in my spoiler that just went up, it was him and Danielle who decided that Ian had to go, because they figured from here on out there weren't going to be, probably only maybe 1, maybe 2 physical endurance challenges. After this, the rest were going to all be memory wall stuff. Things like tonight, the final plea game, those kind of things. And that is exactly what Ian and his photographic mind is known for. And they knew that they had to try to take him out tonight if possible with the double elimination, since he couldn't run for HOH. But Dan also is a smart person, and thought ahead of time and thought, even though I will put him up, I can still say, yeah, but I knew you would not only have that chance for the POV, but no one here was going to ever vote you out over Joe. So he had his backup plan going in case Ian won the POV. So next we have the POV, which was called Swimming with the Sharks, and it was this weird kind of like a maze, and it's like a shark fin, and you had to move the shark fin around and get it to the very opposite end of the board. And as we saw, most of the house guests went the wrong way and got as far as halfway up the board and had to go all the way back and restart again. And Ian pulled that one off. Of course, he pulled that one off and won the POV, so he was able to take himself off. And his freaky self is like, yeah, freaking out and screaming and whatnot. And Dan immediately says, Ian, get in here now. And they were going to go to the back room, and Jen shows up. And I'm like, your name's not Ian. And I'm like, why are you doing this, Jen? You're going to expose your supposedly secret alliance by, going in the back and, and talking to Dan for what? So I guess he tells her to get out, and they both get out, Jen and Ian, and he goes, no, not you, Ian, come here. So I guess that's when he tried to poof the mist a little bit, and I guess he explains to Ian, what are you going to do, and, this and this and that, and we didn't get to hear a whole lot. A bunch of it was blurped out, at least here it was. So they go back in, and then he yells to call Jen back, and, and then Julia's just like, don't make me come in there. So they all run back in there, and Ian obviously pulls himself off. He would be stupid not to. And Danielle got put up. And everybody was once again shocked by that, thinking, my God, Danielle? How could they do that? But, hello, people, we're running out of people to put up, right? And we're putting him up against Joe, who hasn't done a single thing all summer long. But, grow that funky goat and, cook. That's about it. But when he cooks, he never washes his hands. It's so disgusting. He never washes his hands when he gets out of the bathroom. And then he gets out of the bathroom and he stirs things up. And, Just thinking of it. Just thinking of it. I can't take it. No, stop. So then we have the speeches for the nomination, and Danielle says, vote for me. And then I think she realizes, no, if you vote for me, you're voting me out. So she says, to keep me. And then we have Joe, who knew pretty much that he was at his end, and so he, pretty much packed it in at that point. And it was a unanimous decision. He was out. Well, and as he was leaving, he did say, it's just a game, so it's good that he's keeping that in his frame of mind, thinking back to his goodbye speech diary room entry to Frank by see you in a few weeks. I was thinking, see you in a few minutes was more like it. Yeah, so then Julie immediately points out, Joe, you had no big moves. You didn't win a single competition. Was that your strategy? And that's when he starts getting loud and boisterous. Yeah, of course that was my strategy. Yeah, it wasn't. He says he tried everything that he could think of to, help him win. He said, constantly to win. And he said, they have 20 years on me. So, I couldn't do it. And that became kind of like the ongoing joke in the house, unfortunately. It's like, really, like Joe's going to win anything, And I was thinking, who knows? Maybe they were going to cater to him and do something that he could have, So Julie asked him what that thing on his chin was, and he said his mini claws. I guess, it's not like a whole Santa Claus thing. It's whatever it was, people talked about it all the time on the boards. Anyway, Julie says, well, we'll see you back on Wednesday when we have an eviction. She said she'll be there live for the eviction. And then Thursday once again for another eviction. So, yeah. Stay tuned. I already posted who the winner of the HOH was. And so if you want to see that, the spoiler was just before this that was loaded. I will be back here tomorrow with the nominations, and then again on Saturday with who won the POV. Till then, bye.